Hey, how's it going there, folks? Welcome back here to the start of the work week. It is Monday, July 22nd, 2024, about 11:51 a.m. California time here. Latest activity on the globe. Earthquake globe here shows a 3.0 out around the Philippines area. Look at Hawaii, still rocking and rolling out here. Even the seismograph stations here were pointing out a little bit of earthquake activity on the Hot Caves Hawaii station down here. So let's go check out the big island of Hawaii, see what's going on out here real quick. Underneath the Kilauea volcano, still getting a decent amount of earthquakes swarming in this area of the upper East Rift Zone, and very close here to the summit and the Lava Lake area. Got the latest one of 1.9 earthquake here in this mix. Let's go ahead and check out the latest information here from the USGS with regards to the volcano. Current level at a yellow and advisory, so no changes there for that current status. Check out the seismograph station here. Got to find it underneath all of this data. And past 12 hours here, still showing some earthquake activity there on the map, as you can see. I'm not really seeing anything of major interest as far as any rapid uptick in earthquake activity there across the summit area for now. But as always, we'll keep an eye on it. We're getting pretty close, I feel, in terms of the next eruption out here, or maybe even a magma intrusion off to the East Rift Zone. Here's the overnight chart here. Notice a little bit of dipping going on here early this morning. That was a little deflationary event there underneath the region of the Kilauea summit. But we're starting to go back up now. So we'll continue to keep an eye on this and report back as needed. All right, earthquake activity, Southern California. Got a little swarming going on here off the Brawley seismic zone and the extreme southern end here of the Elsinore fault. A little bit of movement happening down there in the Baja California area. A look at the 2.5 map and above. Well, that pretty much removes the majority of the earthquake activity except for that 3.6 off the coast there of the Los Angeles area. This is the Palos Verdes area. I know this region has been getting some uplift going on there across the coastal area. That's all due to the stress here along the southern portion of the state. Of course, you got the plate boundary here, the San Andreas Fault up against the North American plate here. A couple of these faults are thrust faults, which will ultimately raise the land out here over time, of course. And it looks like that's where that earthquake struck yesterday. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that. There's obviously some potential of seeing a larger earthquake out here in this area. And unfortunately, that's, it sits right off the coast here. Some of it inland as far as that fault system goes. And it's actually a fairly lengthy fault. It looks like it gets renamed a little bit down here, but still, it's got potential of producing a significant size earthquake. And in this case, I think a tsunami as well, with it being a thrust fault zone. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that. For now, just a 3.6 there from yesterday. I don't see anything of any uptick following that event. One pointer early this morning in inland. And as I mentioned, a handful of smaller quakes here. Even another earthquake shown up here on the map as I speak within the last couple minutes on the Brawley seismic zone. Of course, what sits up north here just a ways is the southern branch of the San Andreas Fault. And that one is, well, we all know what that can do. Easily an 8.1 magnitude earthquake is what they're claiming will take place here when this unzips. And it's well overdue. It's been overdue for quite a while. So just who knows what it's going to take to trigger that earthquake. But one day it will happen. I like to keep an eye on the swarms because swarms around a majorly locked area could be a little trigger into producing a big earthquake. For now, there's those a little bit of earthquake activity overnight, and including the 1.5 just coming in right now. Northern California, Lake Tahoe area. Looks like the majority of this quake activity underneath Lake Tahoe has ceased as of yesterday. Nothing showing up here on the USGS map. That's a little odd event there. A couple days of some earthquake activity. In fact, Total tally here underneath the Lake Tahoe area, almost 50 earthquakes underneath this region. And this is another area that's capable of producing a 7.3 earthquake underneath the Lake Tahoe area with up to a 30-foot tsunami in that area. It's been studied and documented, and we're about 500 years overdue. Across the Bay Area of Northern California, a handful of smaller quakes here. Got a 2.0 outside the Vallejo area. It is just off the Green Valley Fault here. Also outside of Richmond, 1.7 on the notable Hayward Fault. That's another region there around the Bay Area, very capable of producing some large damaging earthquakes. In fact, any of these fault systems here can produce some large damaging earthquakes, and there's quite a bit overdue. There's a lot of fault systems out here overdue. Not 100% certain that we got enough strain out here across the northern area of the San Andreas Fault for a big earthquake, but you never know. 1906 here was that last big one, and that was something like that today would be ultimately devastating there for the San Francisco region. We have built up tremendously our infrastructure and our population density out here since 1906. So well over 100 years of accumulated strain, but the more concerning areas are going to be down here, central and the southern branch here of the San Andreas Fault. Into the northern edge here of California, a couple smaller quakes here at the extreme southern end of the Cascadia megathrust area, 17 kilometers deep there into that subduction zone. That's where we've seen a little bit of tremor activity here. Let me go check that out from yesterday. Most of that movement here underneath Northern California and extreme southwestern Oregon here. That tremor occurs down there about 35 to 45 kilometers deep into the subduction zone. And we are getting a little bit of notable strain and earthquake activity upstream here. So that's going to be these two earthquakes just up from the tremor. Got to go left to right here. Tremor occurring down underneath this area, deeper into the subduction zone, and then shallower as you go upstream here to the locked area of the Cascadia subduction zone, which sits just offshore. And you can see the strain, obviously these ridges and whatnot there, the uplift of this entire landmass here. This whole area will drop considerably once that energy is released in a big mega quake. I'm talking about upwards of a 9.0, maybe even greater. And land mass drop out here, and subsequent tsunami is not going to be a good day for the folks out there. Just got to make sure you're prepared. Yellowstone National Park, really nothing going on. 1.8 here in the looks like over in Montana area, Idaho area, somewhere around there. Nothing big going on. Let's go check out the Yellowstone overview here real quick, see what we have. Pretty quiet out there. I'm not seeing any earthquake swarming. No major earthquake movement. In fact, goodness, I really don't see anything going on. Maybe one from yesterday. That's going to be this little quake here that popped up just about ready to drop off the threshold there from yesterday. Texas, Oklahoma area. Most of this movement here from yesterday out in the oil fields. Nothing going on here in the New Madrid seismic zone. One little lonesome earthquake from yesterday out in the West Virginia area. I still want to visit the Appalachian Mountains out here. I'm a mountain guy, so I would love to visit that area one of these days. Beautiful region. All right, so we got a decent swarm of activity following yesterday's 6-pointer earthquake there in the Vanuatu area. Notice that we did have a few larger events prior to that 6-pointer, some upper 4s and lower 5s, and then following that 6-pointer, we had some 5s. So an event like this, sequence of events like that, tells me that we could see something bigger than this 6-pointer. Could all be foreshock activity leading up to something much bigger in the area. If you remember, this region, roughly about New Guinea eastward here along this plate boundary to Fiji and right about here, had been quiet over the past 10 days. So a lot of strain has built up here. Now, whether we have enough strain built up for a very large earthquake above a 6-pointer will remain to be seen. We're still lacking some earthquake activity, specifically in this region here Vanuatu northward along this plate boundary. And it's a very complex tectonic plate out here. A lot goes on, a lot of shallow adjustment, a lot of trenches out here. You can see the warping and pulling of the land. Notice these arrows here in the oceanic crust. A lot goes on here. Some big earthquakes. So for it to go quiet for 10 days is a little odd. And now we're getting the sequence of events there in the 5 and 6 range. Keep an eye on this area. We may see something larger kick up there soon. If it's going to do it, it's probably going to do it here in the next day or so. So we'll definitely watch that region. Down south here in New Zealand, see what we got. 4.4 earthquake into the Kermadec Trench here, north of North Island. Nothing else shown up here on the map. There's some deeper activity up into the Tonga Trench as well. Going to be this quake right here. Oh goodness, 641 kilometers deep. That is a tremendously deep earthquake. Deep, 4.5. Not a big earthquake, but that is some extreme adjustment going on down there underneath the area. Wow. So overall, keep an eye on this region. Over the past, couple days, we have seen an odd earthquake off the coast here of Australia, the 5-pointer. Seen earthquake activity around New Zealand, seen a 4-pointer or so, a couple 3s out there in the last couple days. Some movement out here in the South Pacific Ocean as well. All the deeper activity into the Tonga region, and now some further adjustment here westward. And, New Zealand sits right on that major plate boundary here, and that's not a good place to be, but that's where the land is. That's where a lot of people live. Beautiful area down there in New Zealand. I'm one of those guys that would love to just travel the world and see all these great sights here one day, right, when I become rich and famous. But that's not going to happen anytime soon. I would love to visit this area, but eventually this is going to have to adjust down here in a larger fashion. They've been seeing a lot of 3s, and yesterday's 4-pointer, USGS not showing it at all, but there was a 4-pointer down there. Bring that back a little bit and show you guys. Come on back. There we go. Where'd it go? I know it was there. I would have to go to the GeoNet show you guys, but there was a 4-pointer down here, South Island area, just off the plate boundary, or just on the plate boundary, actually. So we'll keep an eye on that region as well. Japan area looks fairly quiet up here, aside from one lonesome earthquake from yesterday. It's going to be a 4.7. As far as any newer activity goes today, it looks like maybe a 3.6 in there. Just north of that 4-pointer from yesterday. 5.1 earthquake. Let's see here. I think that's a little bit past the 24-hour mark, right about there. Well, that's probably too far now. We'll figure it out. It's a little touchy right there, but either way, this 5.1 there in Papua New Guinea, I believe, is an older quake from yesterday. So I like to keep the data there on the globe the last 24 hours, but sometimes it's a little bit harder to figure it out right. Well, we'll get it. 5.1 further west here into the Indonesia Islands area. It's a fairly new earthquake here from this morning, right around the Banda Sea, a major subduction zone that sits here in the Weber Basin area. You can see that oceanic trench right here where two of the plates meet, and this whole area gets tugged and pushed and pulled around. It's unlike any other area out here on the planet where you can see plate tectonics at work and the land pulling apart and stretching. Here on the tectonic map here, this whole area, like I say, there's many subduction zones. There's the Eurasia plate down here moving to the southeast. You got the Australia plate to the northeast. The Pacific plate moving off to the northwest. This whole area is just warping and turning around, and it's very visible there on the map. You can see how this oceanic land is being pulled that way. See these ridges? And this area right here, the New Caledonia region, getting stretched and pulled. Crazy, very dynamic area, and this whole region here is called the crunch zone. At least that's what I call it anyway, because this is where all the plates tend to meet and stretch and pull each other, and a lot of earthquake activity takes place here on any given day. That's why we always see the earthquake 3D globe look clustered in this area. 5.1, somewhat larger than the clustering going on up north here. So generally, it's a very active region. Not so much here across the Java Trench for now. In the India area, 3.1. The Mediterranean area looks quite active as well. Let's see what we got going on here today. I know we've been watching the swarm out here across the plate boundary. The latest one of 4.5 near the GNC, Western Turkey area. That earthquake was felt across the area. Got some movement over there around the Caspian Sea as well. A couple fours stirring up. A couple threes and twos out here around the Azores, it looks like. It's going to be this area right out here. Nothing showing up on the USGS map, but we do have a little bit of clustering going on out there today. South Sandwich Trench did see a 5.2 down here late last night. Looks like that's a fairly shallow earthquake down here. Well, 57 kilometers deep. It's somewhat into the subduction zone here of the South Sandwich Trench. Again, that was just before midnight my time for a 5.2. South America area up and down the board here, somewhat active from yesterday. Today's map, it's a little bit more active down south here along the Chile area. See a couple fours down here in the white circles. This area has been quite active. Of course, we did see that 7-pointer. What was that? A 7.2? 7.4, that's right. That was a pretty large earthquake out there. 117 kilometers deep. It does look like we're seeing a little bit of migration, though, following all this movement up north. So we'll keep an eye on this region. Of course, that the world's largest earthquake, at least recorded, took place out here in 1960, early 1960s. I can't remember the exact date. It's one of those dates here that I get mixed up on, but yeah, that big 9.5, right? That was a huge earthquake, major subduction zone out here. I don't think there's enough strain built up out here, but you never know. This region of the map right here along the Peru-Chile Trench, the Chile area, is a huge long subduction with an average slip rate of about 79 mm per year, but that could be more in certain areas. That 9.5 occurring right here back in the 60s. And of course, the Nazca Plate is subducting underneath the South American Plate. This Nazca Plate moving to the east. Notice the arrows. Separation of the plates out here between the Nazca and the Pacific Plate. The arrows pointing apart. That dives this plate under. That dives the Nazca Plate underneath the South America region to create strain and stress. So a very dynamic area, these subduction zones, and we'll just continue to keep an eye on a few of those out there today. Let's see what else we got. Alaska. Not so much going on up there right now. The Aleutian Trench looks pretty quiet. Got another 4.5 coming in right now as I speak. Right around, well, did they just add that? That was from about 10:30 this morning here. So it looks as though, remember I just covered that. I said there was a 4.7 there from yesterday, and then a 3.6, and now we got a 4.5 in there. It looks like maybe they just added it on here. Either way, getting somewhat active out here, folks. We'll definitely keep an eye on it. A lot going on, a lot of movement going on out here. All right, let's check out space weather activity, see what's going on here. We do have something to chat about, a G2 class storm in the forecast. That means potential auroras here. That's a decent storm. Our last one was a dud. Remember, they were calling for a G1 class storm. Nothing really materialized from that. But this is off of a, you can actually see it right here, this CME that was blasted off in the Earth-directed view. Not a full halo CME, but almost. And that's a lot of plasma that had been shot off there from that recent flare in the Earth-directed view. Now, it looks like this storm watch is going to be for the 24th. Let's take a look here at the detailed forecast here. It looks a little bit more impressive. So this is for tonight. Nothing going on tonight. KP index of 2. Tomorrow night's forecast is when we could see things really ramp up here with KP index around 5 or so. Maybe higher depending on the arrival of when that CME is going to hit. And it looks like between 06 and 0900 on the 24th UTC time. And the UTC time right now is going to be 7:22 UTC time, about 1912 or so. So we'll check back on this a little bit later tonight and tomorrow and see what the forecast looks like. Tonight, nothing really expected here, but tomorrow night and maybe on Wednesday night as well. So we'll keep an eye on that. Either way, yeah, got some interesting space weather event to keep an eye on. I know a lot of folks love the aurora viewing. I got to see it myself back in May here in Northern California. First time ever in my life I got to see the auroras. Didn't have to go up to Alaska or Iceland to see it. But I don't think we're going to see a repeat of that for now. I think that was a once-in-a-lifetime event. All right, what else do we have here? Flaring. So there's some of that flare activity here from past couple days here. Look at a lot of M flare crackling out here. So just sizzling with M flares. Let me check out the space weather activity here real quick on the space weather prediction page. I want to see where this is coming from exactly. This is going to be the viewing right here. Watch the sun in the yellow. It's going to shoot off that CME that we're expecting there on the 24th. That's a pretty dense amount of plasma directly hitting us with all the plasma density. Coming in pretty quick as well, above the 500 km range. So you got thickness of plasma, that's a density. And then you got the speed at which this shot off from the sun, hitting the Earth above 500 km per second there. So that's good. That could definitely spark up that G2 class storm that they're forecasting here. Earth in the green. Look at that. Boom. So I think we'll be good. I think we'll see some decent auroras. Can't wait. I mean, I like to see the pictures that come in. I'm probably not going to see it here in Northern California. It's not expected to be that type of event. That was a that was a G5, right? If I remember right. Either way, we've seen it. They've seen it down in Southern California and even lower. So we'll check back on that. We'll do a little bit more detailed forecast on that tomorrow. As far as sunspots go, there's quite a few of them out here. Really not paying too much attention to this area anymore. Looks like it is degrading and decaying. This area over here did produce some C and M flare activity recently. So we'll continue to keep an eye on this region here. That's about really the only noteworthy spot. Maybe this region over here as well. But there's not a whole lot of super complex sunspots out there for now. Overall threat right now is not super high. 15% chance for an X flare, M flare at 60, and the C flare possibility, of course, around 99% chance or so. We're sizzling with C flares and a little bit of M flare activity as well. So yeah, that was a filament eruption there from Sunday. All right, anything major going on in the space weather or storm prediction world? Marginal risk for some severe weather in a couple localized areas there, East Coast and down into the Southwest area. 2% chance for tornado probability, it looks like, around the Virginia region. So just a heads up. Other than that, we got some wind threats out there, but really no major severe weather outbreak to report out there for now. Let's check out the next 5 asteroid approaches here. This one's pretty big, 290-foot asteroid, but notice this distance here is quite safe, almost 3 million miles away. In the next couple days here, there's even a bigger one. That's 380. Goodness. But that's at about 2,400,000 miles there. Nothing really coming close. I mean, I guess the closest one's going to be this 91-foot asteroid, airplane size, coming in within about 1 million miles here of this planet. But if you remember, a couple months back here, we had a a pretty small asteroid come within about 11,000 miles, which is very close to the Earth. But it didn't hit us. It missed us, which is good. It wasn't. I mean, it wouldn't be a game changer out here for us on this planet, but probably would have produced a nice little fireball in the sky. But there's nothing even coming near that closeness, at least for these next asteroids here on the map. I do like to check this out. And when we do get another close asteroid approach, I'll go into the orbital viewer and we'll check out the, see exactly how close it gets and watch its path. But right now there's really nothing of any noteworthy value to bring that up for now. All right, folks, enjoy your Monday. I know it's Monday, right? Going to be a hot one out here in California, 110 degrees today. It's 94 degrees already here at noon. I think tomorrow's supposed to be about the same temperature, so. All right, folks, I'm going to get out of here. We'll catch you guys back here a little bit later on. Have a good one.